What's up, everybody? BDF 44 coming at you in another video. Alright, so I'm sitting here relaxing. Just got to making a very good playlist full of music that I really enjoy from people who are really silent. Really silent on what happened. I don't even know how to feel about that. You know, I was looking at a post right now, and we're talking about the Gaza situation, of course, where they shut off all their internet today, shut off all their connections to everybody, and proceeded to hit them harder than they've ever been hit. God knows how many people we've lost. God knows how many people are actually still alive in that area, the Gaza Strip. But it just, I'm just in a space where I'm, finishing up the playlist and then looking at what's on IG, and people are starting to say, well, basically what I've been saying for the last couple days, which is, a lot of these celebrities and public figures had nothing positive to say about the circumstance, nothing negative to say. They didn't take one stance or another, and if they did take a stance, it was more like release the hostages or something like that, rather than stop the genocide. But what I think they misunderstood, or rather those who are keeping them quiet misunderstood, is that the world around them was going to change. That you could hold these celebrities hostage, so to speak, in regards to their mouths, not allow them to speak about this humanitarian crisis. But you basically showed all of us that we need to look into them and what's behind them, to which we will find you. And that's really what it comes down to. I think, it's really sad for, first of all, the people who've lost and gone through the horror that they're going through and the suffering that they're going through. That's who it's sad for. First and foremost, everybody of Palestinian descent who cares about this. That's who it's very sad for. But then, to further the thought, it's sad for a lot of the people who are of Jewish faith and Jewish background and Israeli background who don't want to see this happen. And it's sad for them too, man, because they are definitely going to be looked at differently. This world is going to be different for them. It's going to be different for a lot of people who control a lot of things. And they don't want to be, dealing with anti-Semitism and all that. But never has there been a space where people have more of a reason to hate then than now. And that's the irony of all of this. You ask to be loved. You demand to be loved. You demand to be respected. You got to be heard in situations like this. And while a lot of them are standing up, Jews for peace, I've seen a lot of them stand up, and I've liked and followed a lot of them who are standing up against this, and I'm happy that they are present, making their presence known. Just like I was saying earlier today, though, the enemy is the one who stands out front the loudest, and in this case, most silent, trying to represent everybody who doesn't want to be seen this way. The misrepresentation of their own people, man. And it's disgusting how this tumbles forward. And I know a lot of people say, but this is not a Jewish conversation. It's not about religion. It's about Israel. But Israel knows. They know they represent the Jewish faith. Whether it be understood or misunderstood, that is what it is, man. You got the whole Star of David on your flag, fam. You represent their people. And so when you do stuff like this, you reflect poorly upon their people. Not just your country. Whether you want that to be the case, that it's understood or not, that's not the point. People are going to look at that and say, the Jews. They're going to say that. And that's just what it is, man. And I'm not as ignorant as to say all people are nothing. That's why I want to make it clear that I've seen good people step forward from their faith, who've stepped forward in firm belief that killing anybody is wrong, and they made sure they were heard, man. And they're loving human beings, didn't deserve to be misrepresented this way. No different than black people didn't deserve to be misrepresented with all the horrible images that you've seen of us over the last 100 years. And a lot of it has been invested in by those people, and we know it. They invested in the deterioration of us and in the deterioration of many. And they control a lot of what we see, which is meant to wrap us into deteriorating our own minds, whether we're from this group or that group or the third. You can see by way of all of the people who influence us and their silence, who's behind them. I keep saying it. They've proven to us that they control so much, for which they say is a derogatory thing. You can't say Jews have all the money. You can't say that. No. The silence of the people who are afraid to speak in a situation like this shows us who you are. We don't need Kanye to say it no more. You don't need nobody, It's not even necessary that a guy like Kyrie Irving step forward and even deal with the type of public shaming that y'all did that man for trying to release truth upon y'all's faith and what it is that y'all really about. And we can look back on that situation, see how you treated him, saw the hypocrisy in how you treated him, and then fast forward to where we are right now, and it all makes more sense. And I just understand, man. There's a lot of vicious evil back there. Vicious evil. Type of evil that you only hear about in Star Wars, Darth Vader type evil that they really engaging in right now. And it's just is what it is, man. It is what it is. And it's a lot of people who are aligned with them too. Got evil forces in other places who were just as silent while they were doing this. Arab countries surrounding the circumstance. Just as silent as our favorite celebrities. And to think that you let that happen on your own people's land. On your own ancestors' land, regardless of how this shakes out. That is connected to your body of land, and you let it happen. I believe in cursed land, man. I believe in that. I've seen spaces in my own life. Y'all seen me document some of these experiences where I've gone into places and I've told y'all what I felt, and I told y'all the dreams I had when I tried to lay my head down in certain places and how I had to basically pray my way into a space where peace was found. I'm sensitive in that way. I told y'all when I first got to North Hollywood, walking down the street, I felt something. I told y'all when I felt it. I was on camera. Some places, good things happen and they're called cursed, blessed land or sacred land. And then other places you go and you can see where horrible things have happened in this cursed land. And you're going to feel that if you're a spiritually sensitive person. And what they have done to the Gaza Strip over the last 75 years, and in Israel, in the country of Israel, for over the 75 to for however long it's been, beyond my understanding, has made that a very spiritual space. And what they've done on the Gaza Strip over the last 2 weeks is probably make that a very spiritual space. Very. And as I told you guys, and I mean this, regardless of who believes in what, I'm telling you from within the space I've already experienced enough to know. When you deal with praying people, there's two things you got to understand. One, they are strong enough to endure what you're going to put them through. Two, the God that they're praying to is real. I don't have to wonder about this. I've already been proving this in a million different ways in the last 6 months, and I already believed. But now God has shown me 100 different ways, including today, that he's real. Real, man. And so that's the problem with trying to terrorize spiritual people. A lot of people are spiritually bankrupt, but if you look close enough to what's going on, you will see that the people who are doing this to them are not spiritually bankrupt. They're evil. See, a lot of us don't believe in good and evil. We just believe that there's no God and there's, it's just it. And just say, oh, that's all that's going on. But if you understand who they're doing what to and in what way they're doing it to them, you understand they're trying to terrorize their spirits. They're trying to make people who pray to God 5, 6, 7 times a day feel like there's no God at all, or feel like they're going to be terrorized throughout their afterlife, so that even if they were to have a paradise, it would still be haunting them what happened to them here. This is what they're trying to do to these people. They're trying to touch their spirits in a very negative way. And when you see, and the word is dystopian, behavior of all of the people in our country, to where they act like they are oblivious to what's going on, you have to wonder if they've been cloned. When we talk about all these type of weird things, you know what I mean? You got to wonder if a guy like LeBron James been cloned. When you see him celebrating with his kids today, when there's kids being murdered all over his phone, he has to see it. You know what I mean? Or a guy like DJ Khaled, from what I understand, has Palestinian blood. He's celebrating his kid's birthday on the same time they're killing off kids of probably his cousins. Like, you got to wonder what type of spiritual spell these people are under, man. Spiritual spell. Mind control and various different things that keep people hypnotized and stuff like that. That's hey, you have to wonder, man. One has to wonder what they've put some of our favorite celebrities through. What has actually happened to these people, and why the humanity don't show up. Seriously. Because you may be able to silence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, but thousands of human beings that are in front of our faces every day. What have you done to these people? Is what I ask to these evil monsters. And so I understand spirituality. I also understand that hypnotism is a real thing. And I think a lot of these people probably been hypnotized or some variation of it. Because that would be the only thing that would explain the silence in a circumstance like this. It's the only thing that would explain it. Even some of the ones that have already spoken before didn't speak this week. Think about it. Something's wrong there. Something's very wrong. And because I'm spiritually inclined, I know that we need to, if you're spiritual like myself, you need to pray. You can get angry, but you need to pray, because the people who are influencing your children's minds are hollow inside. Either that or they're cowardice to an unimaginable degree. Problem is, I have a hard time believing that all of these people are unanimously cowardice or unanimously coward to the idea that they're going to lose their positions in the world. Because when you watch children die, you throw your position away. You know what I'm saying? A grown man, any grown man or any grown woman in their right mind sees what we see. They're going to go crazy trying to stop it from happening. Whether you have a lot or don't have a lot, that's a human condition. An animal's going to try to stop something like this from happening. So you got to wonder, what do they do to these individuals when they put them through whatever they put them through in order to prop them up and place them in front of us? What did they do to them to make them silent in the presence of children dying at their hands? And as a person who's spiritually inclined, I'd imagine a lot. Unimaginable stuff. Where they come from in the first place, half of these people? That's the question I have now. Were they born in a womb? Or were they made in a lab? These are things you have to really wonder right now. There's a lot of the stuff that we're seeing doesn't align with humanity and psychological humanity. The way that human brains work naturally, this is some very unnatural dystopian type energy that we've seen from a unanimous amount of human beings. And like I said, whether you may be able to influence some of them, all of them, I have a hard time understanding how that worked. How you got all of them to be quiet. I don't know how you did that. Somebody would have defected. One of these basketball players, one of these football players, somebody in this country would have defected. You had to have something on them that not only would keep them fearful, but would keep them docile, would be the word. Yeah. So I would not be surprised if they'd done things to these people's brains, man. I would not be surprised at all. I think we need to think it at this point. We need to think it. We need to believe it. Because that would make more sense than what we see. Just being honest with you. So, you know what I mean? That's what it is. The conspiracy theorists go crazy, man. I'm not a conspiracy theorist by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm trying to wrap my head around something that didn't make any sense to me. Not just the action over there, but how the people acted over here. Even our president and the people who post his IG, it's like they're away from what is happening here. It's like what's the word? They're detached in a very, very dangerous way. As we continue to uproar and say what we see, they're continuing to act as if they don't see it. It's dystopian. That's basically the word. You know, it's like being in Black Mirror or the Twilight Zone or something. And so as I continue to pray to God, a God that has proven himself to me as recently as today, I just understand that I am fortunate enough to not be in that mindset. I'm fortunate enough to still have my consciousness. You know, and that's basically what I can say. We're fortunate enough to still have our consciousness, man. Because a lot of these people that we really celebrate, and we really appreciate, some of the most talented individuals, their consciousness was not present over the last several weeks while this was happening. And that's what I'm believing at this point. Because there's no amount of fear that could have kept me in a space where I would have allowed this to happen. There's no contract you could have given me that would have made me look in my phone and have a celebrity voice and not use it. There's nothing. You couldn't do anything. You could not have done anything. And the fear of dying, that wouldn't have worked. Well, I'm going to die? Hey, we all going to die. But I'm not going to go into my grave being somebody who was silent when children were dying. Nah, I'm not going to do that. You know what I'm saying? You think I'm like... it gets to a point where one has to ask. It's like, My logic tells me that even if you threaten my entire family, my entire family's already in jeopardy because you're in control. You see what I'm saying? So it's at this point, that logic wouldn't have worked. If they would have said, well, we're going to kill off everybody in your family. You're going to kill off everybody in my family anyway. Because you're killing a bunch of babies with no heart. So you're going to definitely kill my ass at some point. The only defense I have is my voice. So that wouldn't have worked on me. You see what I'm saying? It just wouldn't work, man. There's no way I'm going to sit back and be silent while this is happening. It's not happening. And so I don't think most people would have. And I think a lot of people behind the curtain, so to speak, have made it so that, however the way they have, everybody who influences this entire country is quiet. And I think that's very strange. I think that's spiritually strange. And so that's why I tell people, man, if you don't believe in God, I don't disrespect you, man. I just know something you don't know. That's really where we're at with it. I just know something you don't know. I feel something you can't feel. That's it. It's not about anything other than that for me at this point. And that's what my channel has been about for the last several years, is my journey in showing people what it is I've seen and how I've seen it. And this is by far the strangest and the most devastating thing I've ever seen in my life. By far. But to say that I'm surprised that this ever happened, I'm not. Because when you are aware of the Bible or the Quran or various different folklores, they would say folklores, but spiritual stories, they speak of this type of stuff to a degree. They tell us to prepare for this type of thing. So we're here. That's basically what I'm here to say. We're here. And I just want everybody who follows me to develop some understanding that your religion is not the focus of the one who made you. It's not about your religion. Your religion is the agreement between the people next to you that you have a God, and then from there how to basically worship him. But the God above you has a bird's eye view on all humans, and it created all humans. So it's not about do they have it right versus do they? No. If you're praying to God, he knows you. So it's not about whether or not you know him. He knows you. He knows what's in your heart. He knows what's not. So it don't really matter what religion you're in, to be honest with you. Just that you have an understanding that your practice in meditation toward that energy will guide you toward your very best decision making and your very best way of handling things. And so as I look at my Muslim brothers and my Christian brothers at the Gaza Strip being terrorized this way, and then I see the strength that they display in regards to what they're dealing with, I understand that that's not a cue for me not to believe in God, but it's a cue for me to understand that there's still more praying to do. Because if they can go through what they're going through and not lose faith, how can I watch them go through it and then lose faith from there? You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people are starting to understand that. It's like, it's not about whether or not God comes from the sky and saves them. It's about whether or not they're able to stay in a space where they can manage themselves without completely breaking down while it's happening. That's where the God is found for them. Because within the story that they're being written, they were meant to be tortured in this way. No different than my people were meant to go through what we went through for hundreds of years in this country. We got through it through the faith that we had in a God that we serve. Now, maybe that God was given to us by the oppressors, but the grace within that understanding helped us keep our sanity. And that the God that they gave us wasn't a God that they created, but more so a God that they found from somebody who really know the real one. And that's why I keep telling people about Jesus Christ. Like, I pray and meditate on the name of Jesus Christ and feel and see miracles from within it. I don't care that the oppressor gave it to me. They didn't follow him. Just like millions of other people say they believe in Christ, but don't follow him or do evil in his name. That's meant to make me not believe. But when I see strong people engage in faith and overcome what it is they're going through, just like I'm seeing with the Muslim faith over there and a lot of Christians over there, that tells me what God does for them. He helps them get through it. You see a lot of people who don't have that strength, or they turn to evil, or they have something that changes within them that makes it so that whatever they do next poorly reflects upon them. You don't see that over there. You see them holding each other accountable for keeping their faith regardless of what it is that they're dealing with together. That is the presence of God. Because what the enemy wants you to do is have something reflect poorly upon you. Now you want to go out and be a demon. Now you want to go out and do to others what was done to you. Hence what we're looking at literally right now. They went through the whole Holocaust, and all of a sudden they turned into worse demons than the Nazis. How'd that happen? Well, I tell you how it shouldn't have happened. If they were engaging in the faith that they're supposed to be engaging in, that never would have happened. They would have made them better, not worse. And a lot of them are better, of course, as we've already mentioned, but that's not the point. The point we're trying to say is what the Palestinian people are not engaging in. They're not engaging in giving up as they go through the most horrific things that any of us has ever seen in our lifetime. You understand what I'm saying? They're not giving up. They're keeping their faith, and their faith comes from a practice and a consistency in practice, from believing and meditating on what it is that they believe and speaking on it every day throughout the course of what they say. Allah this, Allah that, all day long. So when it's time for them to go through the most difficult stuff, guess how strong they are? As strong as people who practice that way ultimately be. Now, how do we turn them into the terrorists in our minds, though? They're the ones who connect with the God that they serve all day long, and suddenly they're terrorists? Let's think about that. But we're over here not connecting with God at all. Basically, through our cultures, we're coerced away from a God, if we're coerced away from faith. And how do we handle our struggles? Well, look at how the average Americans handles their struggle. When somebody shoots me, I'm shooting you. I'm shooting it like it reflects poorly upon me, and then ultimately gets me into a space where my pain has turned me into somebody that can hurt others. My pain is, that's what we're taught to do here. So how are they the terrorists? How does that make any sense? Well, it doesn't. And then I will look at what's going on in Israel. How are they reacting to the slaughter of others in the name of themselves? Well, they're TikToking. They're having a good time. They're acting like that's not a problem. They're making every excuse for righteousness not being necessary for the betterment of their own preservation. That's a reflection of what it is that they want us to be. That's what they trying to make us, what they fully done to them. We're just somewhere in between. Why? Because you had spiritual people on this land before they got here who are still here. Natives, blacks, all the different people that are spiritual, who give us a balance between that and dystopian nonsense that basically is put upon us by way of our cultures. You got to deal with the balance of both. Ancestors praying for slaves, ancestors praying for native people here, ancestors praying over our Spanish people here. We've had families who have known God for a long time. The dystopian nonsense couldn't overcome what it is that's already been stabilized within us by way of who it is that we come from. This is why we're not full Israel. That's why we're not doing that craziness. Like, well, what about the hostages? Well, 7,000 kids are dying. We can clearly see that. Well, yeah, but what about the hostages? You know, and it's crazy because they're so warped in that space that they're gonna say, well, they put their people out front to be bombed. It's like, well, you press the button. That's not even a good lie to tell us if you want us to go along with you, because at the end of the day, you're still bombing civilians in the name of trying to get to your guy. That's supposed to keep you from doing such. That the fact that they put children out in front of them and using them as shields is supposed to keep you from shooting. But in your warped way of thinking, you think that that's a justifiable means of killing others, innocent people. Even though we know that that is a lie. Even your lie is despicable. That's how warped they are at this point. You see what I'm saying? And that is what they were trying to do to us. They were just more effective in doing it to their people in a smaller space. Makes all the sense in the world. We're too spread out. America is way too big to do that to, but they've been trying to work on us for 100 years through cultures of various different things and the deterioration of our people and all this different nonsense of bad foods and all this different stuff. They've been working on us for so long, but it didn't work. Why? Because there were people who were praying, man. People who were praying here, balancing out the evil that they were doing versus what it is that was actually good for us. They couldn't fully get America, but they did have a control over those who were made successful, as you can clearly see, because success is silent in the presence of these children dying. It all makes sense. It all makes sense. And what keeps us together? Prayer. Why are they attacking the people that are so very prayerful? Because no matter what they did to them over the course of 70 years, they could not break their spirit. Couldn't break them. It wasn't about no damn land. It was about breaking those people, because they were connected to God in a direct way. And that is evil over there. And what they're trying to do essentially is break God's people while pretending to be God's people. It's pure evil. And so that's what I want to say to everybody who's watching this, the Spirit of God is in the people that they're doing this to. And they're trying to pull that spirit out of them, because that's what evil do. Try to take everything from God and therefore convert it to being as evil as it is. So the simultaneous action of what this is supposed to do is to turn them into the terrorists that we say they are, by the way of the survivors who've gone through all this, when that's not going to work. Because they have more support than they ever thought. Because the devil is confused. As we said earlier, the devil thinks the world is one way, and so he can get away with so much, and he ends up looking like a fool, because that's not what the world is. He starts seeing all of us come together, supporting these people as they're being annihilated, and then suddenly the plan falls apart. Because now you don't have the support that he thought he was going to have. He's confused. He's a loser. I keep telling y'all that a devil's a loser. And every application of how he operates is the same dang thing. It's just in different ways. That's what we've been talking about for weeks. So you see it. It's all there. It's all there. And unfortunately, it looks like Israel is the heart of where the devil is on this earth. It looks as if it's Israel, the combination of Israel and all of the different powers that they control by way of the people they've placed in positions to control the land. Not the land itself, but who they put in position to control the land. Government officials, celebrities, corporate officials, all of them are silent, controlled by the Zionists, more or less. And who are they trying to annihilate? The people who pray all day. The people who pray all day long. People who speak of God every 3 words. All makes sense, man. It's good and evil, spiritual. And as I tell y'all, as we've been talking about before this even happened, get rid of the cultures that mean you no good, man. They want you to eat bad food. They want you to be out of here by 70. And they want you to have no spiritual energy whatsoever. They just want you to be warped up in the cultures of hating others and hating yourself and thinking the world is yours when the world ain't yours. Because when it's time for you to be heard, what is happening? They ain't listening to you. They act like what you're saying doesn't matter, and then they proceed to give you an application of something that they otherwise pander to you. Or they'll send something out to distract you away from the circumstance, like they did with the shooter over there in Maine. You think they didn't send him over there? You think that dude wasn't placed there? Come on, man. Never has it been so obvious that was real. That's what that was. They wanted something to distract us from that, because they think we're so self-centered that once we see a shooter shooting up some stuff over in Maine, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, let's focus on what matters to us. But what matters to us is humanitarian efforts in general. We don't want children murdered, period. So what we're saying is, in the name of those who were lost in Maine, cease fire. So it's like, that didn't work. Try something else. And people will be like, well, that's an individual person. You lost me there because that's a human being. But this is spiritual warfare, fam. This is spiritual warfare. So, of course, that person's evil in a sense that maybe he was working independently, but it's still spiritual warfare. So, therefore, Satan sent him there to work for this process to keep us quiet. Right? It's the same thing. Whether you think he was sent there by the government, so to speak, or by the Israeli government, or if he was sent there by just his own warped mind telling him to shoot up these people at this particular time. It doesn't make much of a difference at all when you're considering what we're dealing with here. It doesn't make a difference. It's the same evil. It's the same evil, man. And it was meant to distract us from what it is that we're paying attention to, which is what's going on in Gaza. And it did not work. We're still focused on Gaza. So that's what I want people to understand, man. Spiritual warfare. Whether you think it's a happenstance or something that was deliberate, it's all working in conjunction with itself. It's evil. And if you look at the timing of it all, that's exactly how it operates. No different than God. It's mimicking God in the sense that he does things in timing. They are doing things in timing. They're trying to control things a certain way in a certain timing. And why do they have to do things in such a deliberate, timed way? Because they're working against good, which works that way, as we've said. Spiritual warfare, friends. Stay prayed up. If you don't believe in something, believe in what I'm telling you. They are attacking those who pray all day. If something doesn't hold any value, they won't bother with it. I'll tell you right now, evil wants something that's worth something to God. They don't want nothing that's not worth nothing to God. It is something that's not worth nothing to God. They don't have no use for that. It wants stuff that is most valuable. It's trying to hurt God. So what do? They attack his people in some unhumane ways, young as humanly possible, to make God cry all day. That's all they're trying to do. That's what it really boils down to. Trying to hurt the feelings of the Lord that basically created all of us. And I'm telling you, He's already won this battle. They didn't take his kids away from him, they sent him to him. All the babies that were lost, they're right next to God right now. Now, it may be horrible for us because you hear and you see the pain of the people who are suffering, who are going through that. But the reality is, they didn't take nothing from God. Those things, those individuals, those babies are right next to him. But that's the confusion of evil. The evil thinks it can snatch you from the earth, so therefore snatching you from God. No, that doesn't work. That's not how that works. Not at all. Spiritual warfare, friends. It's unfortunate that we all are in a space where we're confused because we've been in our various lands for so long, benefiting from the slaughtering of others in different places. But at this point, it's reaching a space where now we know what's going on, we've seen it, and we have a choice on whether or not we want to support that or lean into our humanity and think, pray, and work together differently. We have been given a choice. These people were martyred so that we could see clearly from here on out. That's to where a lot of us could not see clearly because it wasn't in our face in this way. But this, my friends, is right in your face. It don't get much clearer than this. The people who control this, that, and the third are also very much in control of a lot of what happened to these last 2 weeks. But just like anything that Satan works with, it has been confused, mistaken, and ultimately underestimated goodness in every way possible. They thought the Palestinian people would be gone by now. They thought we would be warped up in some stuff where we're not paying attention to this. They thought we would be too self-centered and shallow of nature to even go against them in regards to this. They even thought that they would be able to wipe out the Gaza Strip and build something that we would actually support, knowing damn well it's not going to be supported. As I said about anything that tries to pretend like it's God, it doesn't have the context from which to know why it shouldn't even want to. It thinks the world is something that it's not. 9 out of 10 times, somebody playing God don't even know what it means to be God. They're faking the funk. And because of it, they're going to be mistaken about a lot of what it is that they think they control. And here we are. We've been talking about it for weeks. Here we are. You should want to praise God, not be God. You should want to fear God, not fight God. These are things that those who understand Him fully are going to inherently respect. You're not going to play around with God because you know God is not playing around with you. And that means that a lot of bad is probably going to happen next to those who did this. And we can't see it right now, just like I said in my previous video. You can't see it right now because it looks like the movie's over. It looks like the bad guys won and this, that, and the third, but the clock's still going. And what the enemy doesn't really understand is that God can work miracles, big miracles. And he's a creative. So there are things that are going to be coming that the enemy don't see coming that's ultimately going to affect the enemy's movements going forward, however it goes. They don't see it yet. But sure as I'm here, keep watching. Sure as I'm in your camera, keep watching. So that's what I have to say, man. I just wanted to get all that out. It's time to eat for me. I've had a very blessed day in the spirit of my own circumstances because I did get proven once again that God works in a very special way in my life. I'll talk to you about that in a separate way, but it just reinforces the fact that my faith is real. How I'm putting together everything holds merit. The math of what I'm looking at is calculating correctly. And as I've said, keep watching, because God ain't done with this. And those who've done this have exposed themselves. The world that they're in is now different. The world they controlled was a certain way. They messed that up by doing this. So now we're going to see what trickles down from them messing it up. BDF 44, I thank you all for watching. I'm out.